And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Record with KyleSellsBiz, where every week we bring you experts of different background. Today I have a very special guest. He's not only a special guest, but he's a good colleague and friend of mine. And I've had the honor of being on John's podcast a few months back and had a great time with him there. And we have formed a connection. I don't know, is it 2 years already, John? Time just flies, man.
Oh man, it does. Oh yeah, I think it was early 21 when we were on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And getting a chance to get to know each other and hearing your expertise in the field, and obviously it was a really nice synergistic way to connect. So awesome to be on your podcast here.
Yeah, man, I was always impressed with your background and your journey, and wanted to share your talents and expertise with the folks that are part of my network. So if you're listening, you're either a business owner that's looking to grow and scale your business, or you're thinking about selling and you're joining us every week to get some tools and tips, best practices, how to maximize your value, or you're an advisor, financial advisor, attorney, CPA, or any other advisor that supports the business owner community, right? So welcome back. I appreciate you guys joining in. So John, we are big time, man. We are streaming on Facebook. We are streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're not in Threads yet. I don't know. We got to fix that, right? We got to get.
That's right. Threads. We got X. I don't know what he's calling it. Or I guess he's still calling it X Spaces, right? So.
Well, did he change the name or just the logo?
No, it's called X now. So.
Really? So Twitter's not. No more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he changed it to X, and he's trying to. If you think about it, what do you say with X? Like, oh, I X'd it, or instead of tweeting, it's Xing, I guess. So I don't know, but it's been an interesting scenario, right? Why does a business like that, with such a brand name in the marketplace worldwide, decide to switch? But Elon, hey. When you pay $44 billion for something, that's you can do whatever you want.
What the heck you want. You can name it Y.
That's right.
Like why, you can do whatever you want with it, right? When you spend $44 billion, but he has a plan, a vision, a long-term trajectory. So us as consumers don't really understand the vision. You get so used to a brand name. You have so much brand recognition as Twitter, and now it's just X. But he's trying to keep it synonymous with his other brands and whatnot. So we'll see how it plays out, but always good to have you and good to connect with you. But we're going to talk about John's role from business owner to banker, right? He has a dual perspective on financial success, and I always advise my clients, right? You can get a loan or get financing solutions from any bank, right? They all have the similar tools and products, but you want to work with a banker that actually has business ownership or entrepreneurship experience, right? They're going to go to bat for you, to fight for you, to get that loan done, get that financing done. And also as a business owner, you need someone you can run some ideas off of. And John is super creative. You guys are going to learn a lot about him throughout the process. So if it's okay, John, you're a very humble dude, but I would like to share your background with the folks here. So know exactly who John Andrade is, also known as John the Bomb, right? Building others, being best. Hey, can you load that track before we were getting on? You was playing some music on your phone, man. Let's get some energy in here, man. What was that track you were playing?
Oh.
Let's get it going. Yeah. Bring that energy, man.
Hey, only the freaks in business do this stuff, right?
I know. You gotta have some fun, right? You gotta mix it up, right? So driven by a passion for entrepreneurs, John has made it his mission to help business owners and others navigate through business and personal finance to reach success. 25 years, man. We've been doing this at the same time, man. I've been doing this game for 25 years, so we are not similar trajectory there, So John has 25 years of spearheading management, sales, and strategy for organizations and entrepreneurial endeavors. And he has been in management positions, banking positions, financial services. As a serial entrepreneur, John has built businesses. I believe you have sold as well, one of your companies. So he has that unique skill set. As an entrepreneur, he has over 10 years in business and banking management, commercial lending, and 3 years in commercial real estate experience. Currently, John is the vice president of business banking at Huntington Bank, one of the top SBA lenders in the country, a well-known bank. They do a ton of SBA loans. And he's also the founder of Go for CEO. It's a YouTube channel and podcast, which John's going to be talking about. And John, you got a big leg up on me because I've always been wanted to write a book. Like I have a couple books in me. I have not got to that stage yet. So I know you're working on your self-published book, Go for CEO, driven by mindset, the 4 steps to becoming the CEO of your life. I mean, that's a fantastic title, man. How did you come up with that title?
Well, hey, thank you. No, what a humbling experience to be introduced that way. So I appreciate that. Yeah, to hit off on the book, it's been something that I learned a while back, a great mentor of mine. It's more of a Jewish proverb. Talks about, as a male, it'd be nice to plant a tree, have a son, and write a book. I'm a father. I'm a girl dad, and you join me in that journey as well with your 2 beautiful daughters and princesses. But I'm a girl dad of 3, so the son might be a hard one at 47, and my wife is we've terminated the ability to have more. So, and I'm sure we'll be married another 50 years. So hopefully, that'll be flourishing. But as far as the book itself, it's really just my gleaned experiences from, like you said, entrepreneurship to intrapreneurship. There's 4 areas that I feel like have helped me. So when I get into anything new, I assess where I'm at. I align myself with the right people. I take accountability, and then I attack. And that's, been the first 3 years recently. So I want to teach people from my perspective. I may not be Mark Cuban or Grant Cardone or all these big names and billions of dollars, but I've done.
You're better looking than those guys, though.
Well, I appreciate it.
And you got 3 beautiful daughters, so it's awesome.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's the sense of the book, is to really put something into the marketplace that leaves a legacy. That shares with other people what I'm doing, what I feel has helped me to be successful, and also the rough times too, right? I'm not ashamed to say that there's been rough times in my life. I remember living off of the 99-cent value meal at Wendy's some weeks at a time as an entrepreneur. So it's a journey, and I think people are literally going to get a bunch of really cool stories, but also action items, which I think most books sometimes go high level and never give someone like, hey, here's what you need to do to move forward. So hopefully it helps someone.
Yeah, the action item is key. Like, what's the next? So I read the books, and now what's next? I like when books actually like I read Secrets of the what's this guy? Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker, and he actually has, like, in the book that you could download different things, and I'm a money maker, has different, like, what do you call it? I don't believe in law of attraction, right? So
yeah.
Part of the things that he makes you do is how to attract money. So we get so used to seeing like pennies on the ground. So it's funny, when I first came to this country, I actually thought that it would be gold, but that's a whole other story. But now we see pennies, and he kind of trains you, like, why would you walk past a penny? That's almost like you're pretty much denouncing money. Like, people put such low value in coins, but it's more of a psychologically of it that you are a money maker and you attract money. So you don't turn down any money, large or small. So I like when books actually have like tools you could download, and so I'm glad that you're included that in your book. So you talked a little bit about that, but let's, when I have my guests on the show, I like to learn a lot about their journey, how they got to the point where they're at. A lot of people can relate to stories. So maybe you can share your journey from becoming a business owner, and how you became a key player in the banking sector now with Huntington Bank.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it again. So look, I'm an only child, so didn't have any siblings. It's kind of cool to see as a father now of 3 girls how they interact. The 2 oldest ones, they're best friends, they're enemies, all that type of stuff. But as an only child, I really kind of was entrepreneurial actually from the beginning, meaning like around 12 years old. I remember going back to Colombia, where my mom's from, in South America, and her family was business owner mindsets, and my uncle owned a pretty big manufacturing business of spoons, knives, and forks. So it's a cutlery manufacturing business. And I remember just going to his place in Colombia and the warehouse and seeing the workers and the environment, seeing how he led, the presence that he had. And it was always attractive to me. Here, my mom came, she was kind of an admin assistant, ended up at a college in the entry, clerical side of things. And then my stepfather was an iron worker. So it was a kind of a different, arena to be in, right? To live where I was, obviously in America, but then going to Colombia to see business ownership. So that just kind of inspired me. So really quick story, at 12 years old, there was this orange clean stuff that was in the marketplace. And if you had your car cleaned with this carpet solution, it smelled like oranges. It was like a big thing in the early 90s. So I remember asking my mom and dad to buy me some solution because I wanted to go clean cars around the neighborhood, and obviously wash them outside and clean them inside. And I made some bucks, right? Kind of my first entrepreneurial endeavor at about 12 years old, and I learned from that, because then what happened was I got people asking me for other things, right? Hey, John, can you cut the grass, or can you do this? So I just became solopreneur-ish, entrepreneurish at that point. Fast forward, I was a soccer player all my life, had a chance to go to D1 school and with soccer, and unfortunately tore up my knee, fell in love, went and lived with the girl, all that good stuff. Long story short, I run into a situation where a gentleman that I'm still friends with, actually going to see him in a few days in Las Vegas here, but he had a communications company. And what they were doing is selling local long distance service, T1 access. And I got into the business. So I basically stopped my soccer career, ended my relationship, went right into a business that I got recruited for. And I did pretty well. And within about 2-3 years, around 22 years old, I basically started my own thing called Synergy. Synergy Success Communications. So it was a nice run. We actually brought on Nextel phones, had 3 retail stores, so brick and mortar type stuff, and then, had a journey on that. Learned a lot. It wasn't successful in the end, but I had a nice journey, and it led me to the next business, which basically got into the automotive business. Now, I did have a stint there. You'll see it on my LinkedIn profile with the State Farm. So it was kind of about a year. I was wanting to become a State Farm agent. I heard about insurance. I thought it was such a cool gift that keeps on giving. But then I learned in around 2000s about the internet and about what was going on, and how Auto Trader and eBay Motors and all these companies were selling cars. And I just wanted to do something in that space. I never wanted to have a brick and mortar like auto dealership. So I started a company called the AutoGenie.com, that basically we were a buying service for cars. I have a real old grainy video of me sitting on an Audi and telling people the reason we're different is because we have no inventory. See, with the internet, as we all know, things changed, right? The internet really boosted some businesses. It really catapulted to other businesses to the stratosphere. And I feel like we were ahead of the game with the AutoGenie. We were basically buying cars from dealer auctions with a dealer license, and then servicing people, especially females. We really target marketed professional women, because we just thought, hey, they hate going to the dealership. They hate the slime of the dealership. So why not give them a buying experience that they'll love? And it was just new. They didn't get the test drive with us. They didn't get to actually touch and feel the car. We would deliver the car to their home or office, sight unseen, except for a website that we had built for them with the specs of the car and the pictures. So it was just a new concept of how to buy a car, and we were successful. As you said, I did have an exit in 2009. I also got married in 2009. And then I got into banking in 2009.
Yeah, you had an exit and an entrance.
Exit and entrance. So yeah, so that's it's interesting, right? I mean, I've been in telecom, in automotive, and now the finance world. And the finance world has been very, very thrilling, right? Because I initially started more on the personal finance side and helping people and individuals and business owners. But then I got more into, over the last few years, the last 3 years specifically, commercial lending, and in your space, right? Helping M&A people and professionals, get the acquisition financing that they need with their clients, or vice versa, seeing a sale come through that, you help one of your clients and I can help the other side. So it's a really cool journey. And I think, again, it all started from the seed planted from my uncle. So I want to give him a ton of praise. And I have probably about a chapter of him and just the way that he moved in his business, right? He not only had obviously the corner office per se, right, to put an image to it, but he went down into the warehouse and he shook hands with people, and the people that were sitting there, literally these people 8 hours a day, just all they did was see cutlery come off of a machine and break it. And literally, if you think about it, that's your whole job. You just break cutlery off of a piece of plastic, put it into a pouch, and then obviously move on. But my uncle treated everybody with such respect and honor that it was like an incredible culture. When you walked around his warehouse, people would always smile at you and, oh, hi, Mr. Andrade. And they're like, they knew I was, my uncle's nephew. And it was just a cool feeling. I'm getting goosebumps because he's 80-something years old. He's the only one left of my mom and the two uncles. And although he had a stroke, I WhatsApp with him every once in a while. And it's just, it's neat to see. So.
That's an amazing story, man. Kudos to you and your family. I mean, that's experience that's kind of what drives you to this day. He made an impression on you, and you've carried on with that in your own life and your own career. And you are a people person. You are a connector. You see the good in people and building a great culture. So I can see all that influences from your uncle. So, I want to say, I guess I could call you a little bit of a Renaissance man to an extent, because you did telecommunications, and you also, I am a little bit envious of you with the soccer, because I didn't get to college, like, football, I call it, in my homeland, and
Sure.
yours as well, was my favorite, still is my favorite sport. I played a lot of it, and I wasn't that good enough, I was on the B team at best, and I switched to basketball. And for me, it was more grit and do the things that my more skillful fellow players didn't want to do, rebounding, stealing, and getting that team culture, team building. So I did captain that team for a few years. But soccer is something I was always passionate about, wanting to play. So we have a lot of in alignments here, and same way your uncle was inspiration for you, my father was as well. So I think people like to kind of hear these stories, because everyone has a story, and you're obviously going to be writing about some of those things in your book as well. Business owners can relate to that. The question I have is, so you shared your life trajectory to where you are now. What influenced you to get into banking? Like, why banking after all of the success and the experiences and journeys you've had in the other aspects of your career?
Well, the first 90 days in banking, I will tell you, I was rethinking that thought pretty quickly. Look, this is no slight, right? I started off in the retail side. The reason I actually got into banking, as I shared with you, I got married in March 31st of 2009. I had sold my business in January of 2009. So I sold the business January 2009, getting ready. We'd already been planning for a year or two with the wedding. It was a destination wedding to Cayman Island. And when I came back from the wedding, my wife looked at me about a month, 30 days after we're married, and we're living in the house, and we're like, what are you going to do? She was just questioning. Obviously, there was money in the bank from the sale and all that good stuff, and we just had a great time getting married. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be honest. Now a colleague of mine today, KyleSellsBiz, who hopefully will watch this on LinkedIn, he was the branch manager back in those days of Fifth Third Bank, where I was banking with the AutoGenie.com. And basically, he saw all the attributes of me as a business owner. And, he had lost a position, a personal banker. Now, again, it was in retail. I didn't really know much about it. I just knew that Carlos took care of me as the branch manager. I didn't know that there was commercial and business lending and, mortgages and all this stuff. I just knew that this guy took care of me. And he and I went out to lunch, and he just brought it up, and he said, hey, you ever want to be a banker? I said, I guess, right? So I was like, okay, cool. So he offered me a position. I met with the regional manager. They were instantly like, yeah, we'd love to have your talent, and that's no, I'm not trying to be egotistical, but, I felt like I was going to go in as an entrepreneur mindset, and I didn't know that, right? As far as that word, what it meant. But when I got in there, I was already kind of looking around, seeing my position, matching myself up against my colleagues and comparing myself, right? And the first 90 days, it was hard, to be honest. It was very difficult going from ownership and entrepreneurship. But Carlos did a great job. He gave me my wings. He allowed me to express myself. I went to an invite for basically lines of business at corporate downtown. And that day, I realized what I want to share in my book, which is alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I met a guy 2 levels above my manager. So Carlos became my manager, technically, right? He was my banker, became my boss. But then his regional manager, her regional manager, this guy named Andrew, I met him that day. And I said to him, hey, look, I'm new to banking. I used to own a business. I'm a little frustrated. Am I only selling these widgets? Like, I don't understand what, I need some purpose, and I'd love to do breakfast with you. And he said, yes. He's like, okay, yeah, let's do breakfast. He did give me a challenge. He said, hey, meet these targets for the next month, and I'll give you my time, because he was 2 levels, above
Nice.
my manager. So he gave me a target, which was very smart, because that was my competitive side of things. So I did what I had to do. I got breakfast, and the story is written from there, because basically that relationship, that alignment in corporate America got me to branch manager within 9 months.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
that had not been done in Chicagoland, according to the stats I've heard. And there was 440 personal bankers with Fifth Third, and I got chosen to be a branch manager in 9 months. So it was a cool journey. It was a great experience. It's something that I'm going to share in the book, of how I think that a lot of people miss. They get stuck 5, 10, 15 years at a corporation, but they never make the effort to connect with other people. And it could be a small business, right, of 15, 20 people. You got to get to know maybe the CEO, founder of the company, right? In your case, right, there should be colleagues that should go up to Kyle Griffith, one of the managing partners at NYPB, and make a relationship, so that you can have someone in your corner, is what I call the alignment, to bring you up. Because that's a lot of times what you need is a hand up, an opportunity, especially in the corporate world. So.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I mean, and Salazar, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Saw something in you that you didn't know at that point in time. You would make an amazing banker. And it's funny enough, because people ask me what makes a good M&A advisor or business broker. Actually, someone that just sold their business, entrepreneur. So someone like yourself, actually, you have seen, you know what it is to run a business. You're empathetic to the trials and tribulations that takes place for running a company. At the same time, you're driven, you're competitive, and you have some staying power, right? So yeah, entrepreneurs make great bankers, salespeople, professionals, and that's awesome. So let's talk about your sweet spot. Let's talk about SBA in general. Can you just share the importance of SBA lending for small businesses? I know there's been some spikes as far as rates go, right? Some increases over the past I think about a year now or so, but it's still awesome opportunity for people to get access to funding to buy a business, or buy equipment, or working capital needs, or whatever. Maybe you can talk about.
Look, I equate things a lot to ROI, right? So return on investment. And if you're sitting on some money, right, and you want to deploy that capital, recently our savings accounts at banks, right, business and personal, have gone up in interest, because all our interest rates have gone up, right? But typically, just sitting there at 0.1 to 1%, that's probably not the way that your money should be working for you. So I equate that to small business administration, or SBA loans, which, by the way, I do practice finance and equipment finance and conventional loans. So SBA just happens to be a really strong area that Huntington provides a ton of guidance and assistance with. And our team, especially in the business regional banking side, we have these different silos where I can team up with a partner. So I always have a SBA actual specialist, and I'm the generalist, the quarterback. Jeez. I'm the specialist. So what happens is in that scenario, right now the SBA, even though the interest rates have gone up, people are still buying businesses. People are still selling businesses. So it's one of the best ways to get into entrepreneurship through the SBA. And obviously, as you know, right, selling businesses with your clients, one of the best ways for them to sell a business is to have someone supported through their finance needs through the SBA. So, when you have a bank like Huntington, it's superb. We've got a phenomenal system. We've got great processes. And like I said, I match up with a partner, which really makes it neat. So right now, when I go on vacation, as an example, I still have someone there. I have a teammate. I have other support staff that will help as well for the process of the deal. Because a lot of people get overwhelmed sometimes with the SBA and all the things it asks for, and we streamline things, right? I have about 5 deals in the pipeline right now. I'll give an example, from a cupcake business, which is a pretty big franchise out here in Chicago, to a manufacturing business, to a cleaning service, and some other ones. And it's interesting because they're all different, but if you can streamline the process in the 1919 forms, as an example, or tell your clients up front, like, hey, you're going to need business insurance, you're going to need this, that, and you can kind of guide them the right way, I think it makes the process a lot simpler and easier. And you see the effectiveness that you can have in helping people with that process. And by the way, it's less money down and all the things that, a lot of people like when they're trying to get into business.
Yeah, I mean, SBA is a great opportunity for getting access to finance. And like you say, you cover other opportunities and products as well. But when it comes to selling a business, it gives the seller opportunity to get a lot of cash up front because the bank is going to sponsor that buyer. For buyers, though, the investors, there's been some misconceptions about SBA loans. You talked about having the frustration about the packet and all the all we have to go through to get the financing. Maybe you can probably share some of the common misconceptions about SBA loans in general that you've encountered.
Yeah. I think process, right? When you deal with the right banker and with the right bank, I think you can have the process streamlined much more. So there are more things to share as far as your finances with the SBA. There's more tracking. So I'll give an example. One that can be frustrating is when you've been able to save up some money, but maybe you took it from a home equity line, or you took it from your 401k, or you took it from just saving money over the years. You have to track that 90 days prior to your transaction. So before we close, we want to know where that money came from. So if you're buying $1 million business and you need to represent 10%, $100,000, we need to know where that $100,000 came from. It could be gifted to you from your parents or an uncle or whatever, but we need to know. So that alone, that could be a tenuous process if you let it be. If you can share with the client that, hey, you'll need 90 days of tracking. If you wire something, we need to see that. So that's all things. But the nice thing for us, as an example, a little behind the curtain, is we have what's called an ERO, right? So an eligibility review officer, right? And it's neat because we have them on our team that we can, once we get an approval, it's basically there. We've already kind of set the process, and we have a welcome call. So all our prospective clients, they get an approval from us and a commitment letter. We literally have a commitment call. I've had 2 this week, and it's neat because our team shares with that business owner or prospective business owner, what we're going to need. We bullet point it, and then now we go to work together so that we can help that process go smoothly. And then from there, I mean, there's little nuances. Maybe we take an abundance of caution and some collateral. A lot of people like SBA and banks like it because there's a little bit of a leeway in collateralization compared to conventional loans. But some people don't like that their house might be second lien on it, their personal home. But those are little things, right? If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to sacrifice something, right? I just want to add this. Sometimes I get calls, hey, can I do zero down and just buy this $3 million company? Probably not, right? So now there are some ways to actually use the SBA, which if I'll just give it away here. But one little trick of the trade is if you have some sweat equity in a company and you bring in someone either in the top position that you want to recruit in, or you have someone inside and you give them 10% equity into that business, in 2 years, that becomes their down payment. So it's kind of neat. If you truly want to do something $0 down, there are some ways with the SBA that are creative to be able to get you that business. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, definitely. And I've loved working with you over the period of time. I mean, evaluating it does help us, gives us some indication as far as pricing and what a particular bank we're willing to provide as far as financing goes. Doing that preliminary review. You mentioned the ERO, eligibility review officer, having essentially an analyst, right, does some preliminary underwriting, so to speak, to understand the deal. It's definitely important. Um, Maybe you can share a success story. I mean, it feels so good when you get that approval, right? That hey, I've got this funds just to either scale my company or buy a business. Maybe is a success story that you could probably think of that's really impacted you over the period of time you've been doing this.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you one that it's near and dear to my heart. So this gentleman about 2 years ago was referred to me through a broker, and ultimately he didn't end up buying an approved deal that we had. Right. He was very methodical. He was very, he's engineerish, right, in a way, like needed to line up everything. And he saw some things in his due diligence time period after we had given him the approval that he didn't like, and he walked away from it. And I stayed in touch. You talked about relationships, and you and I text every once in a while, or just call each other just to converse, talk about life and business and our kids and stuff. And I stayed in touch with him. And about 6 months later, he found another business that he was very excited about, completely different business in the HVAC world. He had never done anything in that space. He's pretty high level corporate guy, but he still had this urge to want to own a business. Ironically, he also had a family member, a sister-in-law, that lives in the same town that I live in Naperville, Illinois. And he flew in one day and he's like, "Hey, I'm in Naperville. Don't you live in Naperville?" I said, "Yeah." So we had coffee, and he told me about this new opportunity. He said, "John, I still want to do it with you. I really appreciated the guidance. You didn't make me feel weird because I walked away from the business that we had approved already. And I think this is the one. I really like the numbers. I've studied it. And,
Awesome.
and in Pennsylvania, there's no licensing needed. I think I can run this business." So I supported him in that journey. And about 3 months later, we gave him the keys to the business. Obviously, it's been interesting to see him be birthed by fire and fire hose drinking water. But I just talked to him the other day, and is just so excited. He's so pumped up. Every day he wakes up, he's like, "This is mine." My new employees, my new teammates, really are understanding where I'm coming from. And has a servant leadership heart. So it's just really cool to see when you see someone and you give them the opportunity through the financing perspective of owning a business, which is nearly about $1 million loan. And then the follow-up that we did with them to implement some other things that we're able to help them at Huntington. So it was really cool feeling. So
That's amazing. It's all about relationships and having that trust, and actually have him looking you up. When he came into town. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, and as a business, you're growing, you're expanding, right? You're gonna need to hire people as you grow, invest in technology, get new equipment and so on. So having a good bank relationship is key as you grow your business. But it is tough, right? Running a business. So what are some of the challenges that a business might face when they're trying to get access to SBA financing, whether it be for acquisitions or scaling their company? What are some of the challenges a typical business owner has?
Yeah, I think, as you go upstream in businesses, they understand financials, right? So P&L, profit and loss, balance sheet, income statements, right? You get to 5, 10, 15, 20 million in revenue and upwards. You have probably a CFO. You have someone that's dedicated to the financials of the business. Below 5 million, sometimes it could be challenging because you're still thinking of it as a mom and pop small business. Let me find ways to not pay taxes, show as little income as possible, and not have the actual EBITDA, right, that we all look for in banking or even in your world, right, to sell a company at a multiple. So I think the challenging part is probably smaller to medium-sized business to effectively have the right financials. Show your business. What are you doing, right? Some small business owners, treat it like a piggy bank account, right? And they pay off their homes with it. They pay off their second home.
Lifestyle business, right?
It's a lifestyle. Yeah. So when you go to sell your business or when you go to buy that business, boy, it sounds good on the surface. Oh, it's doing $4 million, great, but the EBITDA is negative $13,000. Oh, well, you could add back this and you could add back that. Well, not every bank is so willing to add those things back, right? So there is some flexibility in those things, but I think that's one of the challenging parts is that, especially in our world, right, where I've kind of niche myself into the acquisition finance side, or even just any conventional lending. When you're talking about a cash flow lender, we want to see that you have enough cash flow to pay your debts, right? No different than when you go to buy a home and a mortgage loan officer says, well, here's your debt to income ratio. If you're over leveraged or you're not showing enough income because you want to show that you make $10,000, but you want to buy $1 million home because you own a business, it doesn't work out that way sometimes, right? So those are the challenging parts sometimes up front. And then we can always work through some things. We can wait a little bit of time. We can work with your CPA, where are the areas that we can find some common ground and hopefully, build something for you.
Yeah, those are good points. I mean, when we are bringing companies to market to sell, I mean, we want to see the tax returns because that's what you guys want, right? Every other financial statement is not, I mean, it is relevant, is important. That gives the whole picture. It gives some context to your financial operations. But, what are you reporting to the government, right? We want to see those tax returns. And you find that, sometimes that some businesses may have, different sets of numbers and, maybe some discrepancies there that need to be reviewed and adjusted. So prior to going to market, you want to get those issues addressed. And it's so important having the right tax professional, the right CPA, and the right advisors around you to support you. The lifestyle business is interesting though, because I actually had a client in my office a few weeks back, and they were making good money. They were in the printing sector. But after sitting down with them, they truly had a lifestyle business. They're running a lot of personal stuff through their business. And, as a business owner, you have perks, right? As a business, a lot of write-offs you can do. And, when you sell this business, some of those perks go away. And what I like to share with my clients is that you have to kind of think about what your lifestyle is going to be post sale, right? So if your business supported your lifestyle, whether it be, membership to, nice country clubs, taking your family to nice vacations and so on, are you going to be able to sustain that after you sell your business? So if you go to someone like myself or someone that values business and your value of your company is, let's say, 3 million, but you need 5 million to fund your retirement, there's a $2 million gap. So are you going to now convert your business from a lifestyle business to a real business with infrastructure, with contracts, recurring revenue, and all the great stuff that banks want to see? Because that buyer is going to take your business to the bank, your financials to the bank, to get reviewed, because the cash flow that's coming in has to be enough to cover the debt, right? You can't say, I was speaking with a business owner yesterday, John, you could appreciate this. They have some technology in their business. They have some patents, and it's like, oh, there's some value here in the patents and so on. And how I explained to them was like, there's two ways you can look at this, right? You can go get, your IP appraised, but essentially, the buyer is buying a cash flow. So if your assets are underperforming, right, that's something that you need to be addressed, right? The buyer is going to be purchasing your business. They want to get a return on their investment. They don't want to go in and invest capital into your IP and to make it profitable, right? So you have two options. One is you come down to reality as far as what your business is worth today, or you start creating some value enhancements to maximize the value of the assets you have to create enough cash flow and profitability so you can get more money tomorrow. And sometimes that gap is very hard to bridge in the mind of, because, you've been a business owner and you've been selling companies yourself, the business is your baby, right? No one wants to hear that your baby's ugly, right? Right? Everybody has beautiful babies, wonderful babies, and we all have wonderful babies, right? But when you have someone else coming in evaluating it, you want to make sure that baby is up to par and is what a buyer would want to invest in your company. So I'm loving this conversation. We are running short on time. Any takeaways you want to share that we haven't covered that relates to entrepreneurship, scaling, or banking in general?
Yeah. So no, I appreciate that. There, in my podcast, we talk about, and you were so eloquent the way that you ended our podcast together on the Go for CEO channel is, client experience, engagement, and operational excellence, right? So CEO. The thing that I bring to my day-to-day job and entrepreneurship is the mindset of a business owner that can work with other business owners so that I can relate to the hats that they're wearing. I can relate to the positioning that they have. The most revenue I did, gross revenue, was $3.5 million. So not a small feat. A 7-figure business is not an easy thing to do, but it's not humongous either. So it's neat because I can relate to that growth pattern, right? And every time you grow, you either have to bring in the right talent, right, to take care of that growth, right, the right financing that you have in place so that you can measure the growth and sustain the growth and give you capacity for the growth, right? So these are little areas that I think that, like you said, a good CPA, a good attorney, and a good banker, right, to
Of
be on
course.
your side, to be at that table. And I think that's where small and medium-sized business owners, if you start to put your team together, and I've done some LinkedIn over the hump Wednesdays with your business bankers, shameless plug, but I talk about that alignment. So hopefully, that's where I would probably put a ton of time into, right? Who's your team? Do you just have a bank, as an example, in the banking world, where you go deposit money and write checks and use the credit card? Or do you have a banker and a team that when you have an issue, they step up and can really deliver on some solutions for you, right? Or you can forecast with that team, hey, 6 months from now, we're going to need some equipment that's really going to make our business robust and tap into this new market that we want to get into. So it's really neat. I mean, from CNC machining owners to cupcakes and baking side of things, I've been so blessed the last 3 years to get to know so many types of businesses and now referred so many businesses. It's sometimes hard to take a vacation because the referrals and the deal flow keeps on coming in, which is a good thing.
It's a blessing, man. That's a blessing.
It's a 100% blessing. So.
And you are blessed to have a spectacular journey, and it's not done yet, right? I think of life as ebbs and flows, hills and valleys. There's always going to be another milestone to conquer. So right now, you're flourishing and doing phenomenally well, helping your clients in the banking sector, and you're also providing some consulting advice to business owners, entrepreneurships through your Go for CEO podcast. So hey, I'm watching you, man, because I'm we gotta. You talk about someone that you could emulate and look up to. I mean, I appreciate all that you bring, and I'm just humbled to have you here on the Kyle Sells Biz Off the Record podcast. This has been recorded, and for those of you that are watching recording, we were today hanging out with a good buddy of mine. By the way, Chicago is my second favorite city. I mean, I almost moved out there so many times, man. So, and you are in Naperville, which is one of the top neighborhoods in Chicago. So you're doing pretty well. Naperville is not that cheap. So you deal with someone who has some success and has a great family and doing some great things in the community, and looking forward to watching your journey and being there to support you.
Awesome, bro. No, hey, thank you, man. What a cool podcast that you put together here. You're always so genuine. Let me tell you something. I've met and Greg Carafello, I think his name is. His last name.
Good guy.
We're working on a deal right now, and nothing but kudos about you. So that when you meet someone else and they say nice things about that person that you're asking if they know, it's pretty awesome. That means that your network is your net worth, right? And it's so valuable to have you in my network, Kyle. So thank you for having built a relationship off of Clubhouse, which is a social audio app, to another app here that we're doing a live stream. But we take it offline as well, and we have great conversations. And one of these days too, we're gonna have some food to to share, and then
some cupcakes
and stuff. So what's that?
Some cupcakes.
Cupcakes and beer. So, oh man, this Molly's cup. They do some incredible cupcakes. It's very delicious stuff. So
awesome. Well, hey, John, it's a pleasure. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate you, and look forward to watching you and supporting your journey. But thank you again. Everyone that's watching, appreciate you. We'll be back next week. Tomorrow, we're going to the franchise world. We're going to have another good friend of mine, Tom Scotter. He runs the Franchise Academy, and we're going to talk about franchise. And he has a similar story to yours. He did go through some hardships himself. So everyone has a story, right, John? Everyone has a story to tell. So stick around. That's going to be
Write a book. Write a book.
Next week, Wednesday. It's coming, man. I have a lot of journals there. I'll be journaling. So it's coming.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you again. Until next week, guys.